Water shaming. Good afternoon. I have lots to go over today. One, I didn't get the live stream done last night. I'm sorry. I I had I got nervous. I apologize. Two, we have a word of the day, and it will be at the end of the video. So stay tuned for that. That's a new thing we're doing. And then, number three, I just want to get into it today. Fascinating topic about water in the United States, and I I'm intrigued. So I just want to go over some articles that I've seen and want to go over it and see what you guys think. So here we go. This one here is from the Salt Lake Tribune, and it came out. It came out this year. And so, do you know what water shaming even is? I had no idea. I didn't know it was a thing. I'm in the Midwest. We don't talk about water ever. I've spent some time out in Colorado, and they do talk about it out there. But again, it's not something that I've spent a lot of time on in my life in the Midwest. But anyway, here we go. So it says neighbor wasting water, is water shaming the answer? And it says Mormons did it in the 19th century, and thousands of Utahns did it last month. And so they're going over how in the West, even now, there's some water issues, and they've come up with this idea, the Utah's Hall of Fame or Shame, which receives several hundred complaints from the residents tired of their neighbors' misuse of water. Utahns can submit a complaint through the website, which is then forwarded to the local water district. The district then gets to decide whether to confront the offender. Last year's drought was characterized by the worst in 2 decades. During that year, 167 complaints were filed with the Hall of Fame or Shame. And then it says, by comparison, halfway through 2021, the website has seen 5,540 complaints, a 3,200% spike from the last year. Of all the complaints in the website's 4-year history, 68% were filed in 2021. And it says Utahns are water shaming more than ever. By the way, I didn't know you would say a Utahn for more than a few Utah residents. Very interesting. Anyway, they say that the social structures that lead to it are complex and run deep. It's very fascinating, this idea of water shaming. So you go through this, and it goes through the history of the conservation of water and how it's viewed in Utah, maybe through the church. And then it says that they quote this woman when she sees people wasting water. If she would use the state's Hall of Fame website, she replies no, because she doesn't believe in public shaming. And so this is where it gets interesting. So state officials insist the site is not public shaming because the complaints are kept private between the individual filer and the receiving state or local government. And so anyway, it's also, they say that the Utahns don't have to leave negative feedback on their neighbors. The fame part of the fame or shame means users can leave positive feedback on conservative water use. 98% are using the shame side. So sure. So anyway, so you've got that, and then it goes into this, and I was just following the news. So it says that that this started off in this shaming started off in Los Angeles around 2015, and then it said that because of the shaming, it had caused a 26% drop in the amount of water being abused. And so it says that in this article, it says the shaming system was more robust in Utah's 4 of California's water districts were handed $61,000 fines at one point. Twitter callouts with the drought shame hashtag carried the movement to social media. Apps were made to monitor neighbors' drought shaming. And so, it's fascinating. So it says if you see water waste, report it, but finger pointing does nothing. What actually makes a difference is everybody doing their part rather than everybody saying, I'll conserve when so-and-so conserves. It's really going to take all of us. And so let's say, so that's pretty much the end of the article. And so then I was going, I went, okay, so what about California in 2015? And so it says this is from the Chicago Tribune, and it says, California water wasters beware, drought shaming on the rise. And then you go through this article, and it talks about how this fellow that managed a condominium complex, his building was recently shamed wrongly by someone on Twitter over a broken sprinkler head that was quickly repaired. And so he asked the question, if they thought we were doing something wrong, why not just come knock on my door? And then this is where it's a very interesting topic. So it says, the whole point is to get people to change, not to shame. But you're shaming to get people to change. So anyway, so you go through this, and it's fascinating. Dan Estes, a local real estate broker, has gone so far as to build his own free app, Drought Shame, that records the time and place where people see waste. So obviously one real estate agent is in on this drought shaming from 2015. So I wanted to go over it. I'm going to switch right here to this. I wanted to go over it real quick with you, the questions and thoughts I had, and then I wanted to kind of do something a little different. And a little bit later, we'll go over some new stuff. So it says, so here are my thoughts. And one of them is, is the practice of water shaming good for society? That is, snitching on a neighbor who has a broken sprinkler head, or having a code enforcement letter coming to your house after you've called the municipality on your neighbor. Does that help make a more cohesive society? And so, what about this? Is it better to go to your neighbor and say, hey man, I know you're leaking a bunch of water out and we're kind of in a drought, so could you stop? Or is it better to just put on an app, like, just click that, somebody's wasting water and take a picture of it? I don't know. I don't like the idea of water shaming. I think I've come to that conclusion. I don't like the idea of water shaming. So, number two, who pays for the water? Who owns the water? And are we being lied to? Are we actually renting the water? You get what you pay for or not. So if I pay for water, am I allowed to use that water however I want to? And I don't know the answer. I'm just asking the question, because I think that has something to do with it. And then number three, what are the economics of water? Classic economic theory says that if there's a shortage, it can be mitigated or improved through. If there's a shortage, it can be mitigated or improved through market pricing. And there's also the concept of substitution. So is this a market failure? So the concept of substitution is if meat and chicken if one is more than the other, you'll probably take the other on the substitution. But I don't believe that's true 100%. Now, I realize it's economic theory, okay? But it does, what are the economics of water? I have no idea. And then number four, who determines when water is wasted and when it's being used for good purposes? For example, concrete production uses water, lots of it, but we can build buildings and roads with it. Is it a volume issue? So for example, if you want to take a shower in the morning, you use maybe 20 gallons of water. Where's the line? So are we going to stop industry because we're going to be shaming people about water? And water is an issue. I mean, I'm not saying it's not. It's just the way to do it, the way to fix the water problem. It doesn't seem like the best way is to shame neighbors and have you snitch on your neighbors. And then finally, have we seen instances of shaming in modern times? Maybe some of you read the Scarlet Letter in high school. It isn't that shaming is something new, but is it perhaps that the sophistication is new? Apps to shame water users, massive government spending to change public policy through shaming. It seems strange to me, and this does seem strange to me. And so as I sit here, there's no doubt that there's a water problem, fresh water, in the west of the United States. Now, sometimes you'll have years where things work out, and I was reading like in 2020, California had more water than it had in a long time. But what I kind of want to direct you to is I know about Israel, and I know that Israel has always had an issue with water, and I know that they're doing better, and there's a lot of reasons why, but I wanted to share this as a way to think about the Western states. as a way to think about the United States and how we use water. If we're going to continue to have larger and larger populations, maybe there's a way to do it. And so I went to this article here, and it's just written simply. I see it's a very long article, and so I don't really want to go through the whole thing, but it says how Israel is solving the global water crisis. Okay. And then I wanted to just, I took some notes. So, number one, like, so how did they go from being in a very bad spot with water to being in a pretty good spot to the point where they're exporting water to other countries? So here's a couple of things they did. One, new and different farming irrigation techniques. So they're using a lot of drip irrigation versus the type of farming we see in California, or at least the type of farming we see in the United States, or in my part of the country, where you just have these huge sprinklers just going over crops. And it seems like that's a lot of the water just gets evaporated by the time it hits the ground. So that's one thing. Another thing is development of seeds that require less water and more water efficient crops. Another thing is the discovery that some crops can grow on salt water. So did you know that? I did not know that you could grow crops on salt water. And then another thing they did is they looked at the technology. So leaks are a big deal in water infrastructure. And so what they have sensors on all the pipes that can detect leaks. And they've had it this way since at least 2010. So like say there's a leak on a pipe somewhere, they know where the leak is and they go out and fix it. And then E is desalination plants that are cost effective. And a quote out of the article says today, any country that doesn't have enough water has only its leaders to blame. And, I remember there was big talk of desalination when I was a little kid, and it went away because it was too expensive. But apparently an American working in Israel, found a way to produce water cheaper, get fresh water from the salt cheaper through osmosis, reverse osmosis or something. It's in the article, read it. And then finally, there's a national water system paid for by consumers and farmers, and it has to be revenue neutral. But this is the actual thought of paying for water. So some of the things that I thought, like who pays for the water, who owns the water, we don't really pay for the water we use, in the sense that like it's a utility. There's no market pricing for water. And so it's kind of messed up. But at the end of the day, is shaming someone, is that going to be the best way to get through this problem? Let's state that there is a problem with water, fresh water in the United States. It seems like some people, you can only conserve so much. For instance, we're going to have, we all understand the need to conserve, but there's got to be a way to get more water. And one of the ways to do this is to look at the model that Israel has presented. And it seems to be working. So I don't think water shaming is okay. I think we should try and avoid some of this stuff. Like I said, we had the Scarlet Letter, there's other ways people are being shamed right now. And I just think that it's not right and not conducive to a great society. So in this particular case, let's look at some of the things that Israel has done and replicate it over here. That's all. I'm all for education, but shaming is a whole different thing. And so finally, this is our new thing. This is what we're trying to do. Our word of the day is reproach. And reproach is an object of scorn or contempt. And in a sentence, I don't know if I did it right. It's kind of hard to do these. I'm not an English major, but is the act of water shaming beyond reproach? So I have the sources for you to read if you're interested. Tell me what you think. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we should just shame everybody for everything. Maybe that'll fix the problem. Or maybe we could actually look for some solutions besides shaming. Anyway, that's what I have for you today. Hope you enjoyed it, and hope you have a good day today. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening, and I'll catch you on the next one.